if you jump into something like this and you think that your set is going to be as great as you and you're going to listen to calls and there's going to be like a clone of you, like, yeah, eventually that can happen. Obviously, train them up enough. But to begin with, that's not going to happen. But if you've done it right, the main advantage you're going to get is, first of all, you'll probably still get more booked appointments, even if, and probably more shows, even if your appointments there isn't as good as you on the phone, you'll probably still get better results. But the reason why is because unless you actually are phoning leads within 5 minutes and you're actually following up with them consistently for 7 days, right? Most of the time people aren't doing that. And so a setter comes in who isn't as good on the phone, but their volume is like 10x. And therefore they're just getting way better results. The other thing is the time you save, right? So your results go up. But honestly, with a lot of our clients, the biggest thing we find is that they are able to get 15 hours a week, 20 hours a week back into their calendar because they're not having to do all the follow-up and do all that stuff for themselves anymore. And even if your results, let's say your appointment set wasn't that great and your results actually dropped a little bit, right? If you had 15 hours a week back, what do you think that could do for your business, right? So we have a lot of our clients, what they do is that 15 hours a week, they put it into how do they start being able to focus on their actual business more. They can retain clients better. They can provide a better service to their customers. And so they end up hitting record months. And even though they're getting like less appointments and less shows, because their existing clients are staying for longer and their attention is going up massively because they can put more time into that.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the 7 Figure Secrets podcast. Jennifer Waters here with my co-host and dad, Tommy Siegler, and our special guest, Arin Darcan. Arin, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Doing awesome. For those of you guys who don't know Arin yet, let me tell you, this is going to be a really cool podcast. Arin's built out multiple 7-figure businesses, and he's done a lot of work around his current business, team follow-up, call center mastery, but he's been in the agency space since 2018. And in that process, really figured out that there is a lot to do with keeping clients by incorporating the ability to call leads for clients, be able to set appointments for clients. So he has a lot of data when it comes to actually setting appointments, which I think for most of our school and academy owners is really crucial as well. So we're going to pick his brain about all things, talk to him about his business, all of that. So Arin, again, super pumped for having you here. How's life been? Been busy? Yeah.
Been busy. Just got back from a 3-week. I was on my honeymoon. It was a 3-week vacation I was on, so that was crazy.
Right.
Yeah, traveled all the way around the US and stuff. Like went Hawaii, San Fran, Miami. Like we did the whole thing around the US. It was really, really good fun. But the cool thing about it, this is kind of a side note. The really cool thing about it is that I actually made more money the month I didn't work compared to the month previous. So
is that
it's a I've been able to build my call centers in a way where I don't even have to run them anymore. My team do them, which is like I've got a whole thing in. So it's like just trying to, if anyone's kind of like on the fence about, you don't know who I am, at least that's hopefully a bit more social proof. Like I kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to building call centers and how to get more leads through the door and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've worked with a lot of big names in the industry, at least in the agency world and also in the fitness industry. Gym Launch, Agency Lab, like those are some pretty big names. I think maybe we start a little bit more with the conversation around why do you think it's so important for people to have a system in place to actually call leads versus just texting or emailing?
Just text alone, it's better than nothing, right? Like a lot of people are putting like AI bots in place, and that's like
Yeah.
okay, they're getting like some response. It's better than nothing, but the calling it's so much more. It sounds bad, but it's just so much more intrusive. It's like someone actually ring. Like if you think about it from like a logical sense, right? Like a text that comes through, you can look at that another time, whatever else. Like someone actually ringing your phone, it's making your phone like make a noise, vibrate, and it doesn't stop until you react. Like it's just so much more like you're more likely to actually respond to that kind of stimulus, if you want to call it that, right? So I think the phone in that's the reason why it works way better. It's just because of that. Like the stimulus is just way more interruptive to your life, to everything you're doing. So you can't just ignore it. You can ignore a text, you can't really ignore a phone call. Obviously you can, but that's when we get the double dials in, right? Don't get too deep into systems yet, but like when you're double dialing people, you can break do not disturb, you can go that one step further to make sure that they're really getting hit. But yeah, it's just the fact it's very intrusive. That's why it works better.
I think that's really important.
Super important. So Arin, we run ads on Facebook, we run ads on Instagram. A lot of people do that. They run their own ads. They have people make ads for them. But that's only part of it. But they're not actually getting the appointments set from there, or they don't get people to show. So you got the first part, however, they get the leads from the ads or whatever, but they're having problems from there. What are some solutions to those problems? What are they not doing?
There's so much I could talk about this for a long time. I'll try and pick the biggest levers that people can pick. The first, like, I guess, like the general overarching theme here is you need to think of the lead as an actual person, right? Like, I know it's a number on a spreadsheet for a lot of people in CRMs, that kind of thing. But if you actually look, if you went through the process yourself, right? So even with your own gyms, right? If you were to submit your information as a lead and you saw the text you got, you saw the phone call you got, a lot of time it's so obvious. Obviously, no one's showing up. Like, someone came in, I didn't phone them for like 5 hours. They're probably bored or forgotten or like doing something else now. And then when they do have a conversation with someone, the person I spoke to, maybe for using like international callers or something, they've got like an accent. Well, hold on a second. I thought this person was in Michigan. Why do they sound like they're from Mexico or whatever it is? And then on top of that, the call they have is like the appointment set is very like just ask them some super basic questions, doesn't really connect with them on the call, especially with something like, I know you guys aren't gyms. I know you're like obviously the martial arts studios, but people will still come to your centers to lose weight and to keep fit and that kind of thing, right? And that's a very vulnerable state for some people to talk about. Like, I want to lose 30 pounds and like admit that. And like, it can be a bit of a touchy subject for some people. So if you're having a conversation with someone and someone opens up, they're like, look, I'll be honest with you, like, since high school, I've been overweight. I've struggled a lot with getting around. And recently my kids, I haven't been able to keep up with them anymore. And so I was really just looking to like lose like 30 pounds, just have a bit more energy and spend more time with my family. And then the setter's like, okay, great. Let's book you in for tomorrow. It's like, oh, hold on a second. Like, you need to actually like have a conversation with people and like be like, oh my God, that like I fully get it. I've got kids myself, and I actually relate to them, right? And understand them. That's really what it is treat people like a human being. So how do we do that, right? So obviously, like I said, the text messages you're sending out, the reminders you're sending out. When you're sending reminders, is it like one of the things where it's like, your appointment is tomorrow at 12 p.m. Please make sure you show up on time. We do not allow reschedules, right? Like, okay, you compare that to someone being like, hey, you can even make it look like the gym owner or whoever it is texting them, right? You can make it look like the med spa owner is texting them. Hey, Jamie, so we've got our appointment tomorrow at 2 p.m. Super excited to see you. Here's a picture of our of outside of our building, and here's our parking information. Or like, here's a link to the Google Maps. Or like, reducing that barrier to entry, trying to make it as smooth as possible for people. It's always like little, like I said, I can speak about this all day, but it's always like little things. Like, you just got to think about it from, if you're a person that doesn't really understand where this gym is or where the martial arts studio is and what we're doing here, and just got to make it as easy as possible and treat them like a human being. They're like the main things.
Cool. Yeah, that is a big thing.
And I think that that's something, a lot of people, and this is a challenge sometimes, even with our clients, because with Seven Figure Dojo, we help school and academy owners turn their dreams into reality through, our online marketing systems and through coaching to help them grow their schools. And one of the things that's hard to break through is the mindset between how a lead responds when they're coming in as a referral or they're coming in from a website versus how a lead is going to come in that's never heard of you before through Facebook or through Instagram, or if you're running, Twitter, or not Twitter,
Yeah.
excuse me, if you're running TikTok ads or something like that. So do you think that's a mindset that just entrepreneurs in general have? Like, they don't understand the difference between warm and cold traffic and how you respond to those leads? Is that something you see?
I think it's a problem, not necessarily with entrepreneurs, but it's a problem with local business owners, because if you're working for a local business that's never had that's never worked with cold leads before. When I used to run the agency, my own agency with doing the lead gen stuff, I used to speak to people and they'd be like, oh yeah, oh trust me, I'm the best sales guy in the world. Like, I have like an 80% close rate, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I used to like roll my eyes at it. And it's like, okay, like, where'd you get your leads from? Oh, it's people come to me, they hear about me from this place. It's like, okay, so it's all referrals. Like, it's all people that have been through your service. They're then referring their friends and family. Of course, they're gonna like what like it's not the same thing. So I think a lot of it comes down to like educating the the prospect, you could call, not a client, they're not a client at this point, but the prospect on the sales call to be like, look, like these are the stats that we have for our existing clients. This is what we usually see. I know you're saying you get an 80% show rate, but and just educating them on that, like, and that's the thing as well about a lot of this stuff with clients. It's like you got to remind them of this stuff. Like on the sales call, you might go through it, they might go, "Oh yeah, I fully get it, makes perfect sense." But then you never mention it again, and then all of a sudden, 3 months later, they're kicking off because the leads are bad quality. It's like, well, it's because no one's ever actually reminded them of what they spoke about in the first place. So then on the onboarding call, you want to be mentioning it again, like, look, just a reminder, like these are 2 different types of leads, and just like educating that on them. I don't think it's like a problem with them. I think it's just that there's not enough education about the difference between the leads.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that one of the things that, we do try to make sure that we're talking about all the time with any client that comes on board with us, because the difference with a local business is usually it's a brick and mortar location, and they usually have had some type of walk-in traffic, or they did have those referrals. And so that is a very common scenario that you just gave, like, oh, I'm great at this. And then what happens is they're not, or the other thing is they go, well, I called once, I called twice, like, what do you see as, how many times should somebody be, typically reaching out to actually get a lead on the phone? What are your stats that you're seeing?
The first thing is speed to lead is like the most important thing. So if you're a martial arts owner, gym owner, and you are in a situation where leads coming in the day and you maybe don't have time during the day, but you say, you know what, at 7 p.m. in the evening, that's the time I phone up the leads and I get back to everyone, blah, blah, blah. Well, a lead that came through at 11 a.m., that's 8 hours. Like that lead's dead at that point. Honestly, like you're not going to be able to, like, you might still get through to some of them, but like it's gonna be terrible. And then people will start complaining that the phone numbers are bad or the leads, the leads aren't answering the phone. It's like, well, because you're phoning them 8 hours later. Like that's the problem. So the first thing is making sure that you phone them within 5 minutes. I know that's like gonna be a bit hard sometimes, but I would hire someone, front desk person, whoever you want to hire, and make sure you're phoning leads within 5 minutes. That's the first thing. Beyond that, you then want to be phoning leads twice a day, every day for 7 days in a row. What we found with our data is that like 95% of the booked appointments come through in the first 4 days, I'd say. So like it's pretty much exponential going down. Like it's a reverse exponential curve, pretty much. It's like most of the booked appointments come through on that first speed to lead call, and then day 1, day 2, day 3, it starts to drop off. Day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7 is like where it starts to like bottom out, and like it's like 2%, 2%, 2%. It's like very small amounts after day 4. So really, if you can't do day 7, just like do like at least the first 4 days, twice a day phone in. Even like try and do different times. Maybe phone the leads at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. and the next day phone at 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. and like try and mix it up so you hit people at different times as well. And the other thing I mentioned as well is that double dialing is so important. So I know I briefly touched upon this a second ago. So a lot of people, what people don't realize is that a lot of people's phones are set, if they're on do not disturb, it's set to not allow phone calls to come through if it's not from a contact in their phone book. And so people usually phone once, the do not disturb blocks it, and that's it, they leave it. Where if you phone again straight away, the phone now thinks it's an emergency because it's like, oh, hold on, this person's phoning twice. Like actually, most of the time, it breaks the do not disturb on the phone and lets you get through to them. The other thing as well to that is if you're sitting there and you see a phone number that you don't recognize, it's ringing you. I literally had it earlier. I was on a call earlier. A phone number rang me. It rang me once. I was on a call, so I hung up. If that phone number rang me again straight away, I'd be like, okay, this must be like a hospital. It must be like something crazy is going on. Like, and I'd be answering it, right? And so it's that psychological thing there as well, where double dialing is really important. So to clarify, double dialing on the speed to lead, that's really, really important. And then like consistently phoning for 7 days after that, twice a day. That's what we do. We find out what's best.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So I'm going to touch base on this once again, because you've explained it already, but I want everybody out there to understand this. There's different layers that you're talking about, from getting the lead to calling the lead to double dialing the lead. But then you have a nurturing process that goes on through that. And then what we see and hear from some of our clients is that they still don't come in. they're not showing up for the appointment. And why don't they show up is that what they want to know.
Yep.
And we tell them what we know to tell them, but I want you to tell them. So one of the main reasons why, or how you can hit both sides of how do you get them to show up and why are they not showing up for the appointment?
Yeah, that's the other thing as well. It's you've got to. A lot of people think that. Oh, hold on. Is it?
Go ahead.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
you're-
It threw me
Okay.
off. Sorry, I thought you guys left. A lot of people will think that once they book the appointment that like the war's over, right? But it's like you still like just getting the appointment, like you've still got to you like what's the old expression? You've won the battle, but not the war, right? You've got to keep going on with them and nurturing them and doing that thing. So, like I was saying a second ago, it's like it's having that conversation with them, connecting them in that sense. It's also comes down to another big thing is when are you forcing people to book in times that actually aren't that suitable for them, right? So what I mean by that is a lot of people that own local businesses, they will say, look, I'm really busy. Some of them are a little bit like divas, right? And they're like, look, I only do sales appointments between the hours of 3 and 5 p.m. That's like on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. It's the only time to do it. I'm busy every other time, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of agency owners will be like, oh, okay, yeah, we can figure that out. That's not an issue, blah, blah, blah. And they kind of like do what the client says. And then what ends up happening is that you have a conversation with someone and they say, and you say, oh yeah, we've got Tuesday at 3 p.m. And they go, well, you've not got anything on Monday, you've not got anything on Saturday, or like, no, they kind of pick around. And then also what ends up happening is they end up booking the appointment for the time that you told them, but that appointment time is actually really inconvenient for them. But the reason why they've agreed to it at that moment is because at that moment they're very motivated. So they've got a lot, like they've seen the ad, they're like, you know what, I'm going to learn martial arts, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they're very motivated at that moment. And then what happens? So even though maybe 3 p.m., 4 p.m. that day actually isn't that great for them, in their head they're thinking, well, I normally pick the kids up from school at that time, but what I'll do is I'll ask my mom to pick the kids up from school because I'm gonna do this. I'm dedicated, right? And that appointment might be 3 days later. And what happens is over time, the motivation to attend that appointment starts to drop. And so then it's kind of like this weird, like there's like a barrier you've got to surpass for someone to actually attend the appointment. And it's like the motivation to attend the appointment, right?
Mhm.
So then what happens is Tuesday rolls around, 3 p.m. rolls around. They forgot to ask their mum to pick the kids up. They're not that motivated anymore. It's too much of a barrier to entry. And they're like, I'm just going to leave. I'm not going to show anymore, right? Where if you put them in for, I don't know, 6 p.m. on Tuesday when they're off work and they've done all their bits and they're sitting down doing nothing, well, then the barrier to entry, the motivation will still be just as low, but the barrier to entry will now be lower than the motivation. It won't be up here anymore. And so people will still, because they're sitting there like, I've got nothing else to do. Like, what's the excuse? Oh, I might as well just go. And they just turn up to the appointment, blah, blah. So what I'm trying to say at this is like calendar availability is a huge indicator of show rates. If you're forcing your leads to book into certain slots and you're not that available, your show rate's going to dramatically reduce. If you have at least like, let's say 20 hours a week of availability at all different times of day and you're super flexible, you'll get a way higher show rate. I can promise you that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a really
That's
important
what I
point.
wanted them to hear right there, because
Really
that's the problem that we run into. You can tell them about that, Jennifer.
Yeah, no, I just think school owners in general, I mean, we used to be this way.
Yeah.
Especially because a lot of people don't necessarily try to put, at least in this environment with school and academy owners, a lot of them will put the appointments into their regular class times as opposed to having a private or semi-private introductory lesson, which is something we recommend. But those class times are limited. You might only have a beginner's class on Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock, and then you don't have any other times. So basically, a huge piece of getting people to show, from what you're saying, is it's got to be convenient that they can actually come in and
It's
show.
also especially with what you guys are doing. It's a bit different with like med spas and chiros and things like that. But like with what you guys are doing, I signed up for a mixed martial arts gym about 7-8 months ago now, and I'm quite a confident guy, so I was fine just to turn up and just walk in and figure it out. But like if I'm attending a beginner's class, it's like I don't know anyone there. I'm kind of at my comfort zone. So like having that, if you were to maybe offer a hey, look, we're gonna have a 15-minute one-on-one or a 30-minute one-on-one or whatever. Like that way, then I meet the person. I know where the location is. I know it's like, you get familiar with your surroundings. You start
Yeah.
to speak to them. You see how it all works. Then when the beginner class comes on, I'm like, oh, I just spoke to Brad, the trainer, had a one-on-one with him. Feel super comfortable with him. He's now doing the beginners class on Thursday. Great, I'll attend. I already know Brad. I got a rapport with him. I feel way more comfortable. But to ask someone to go straight into a class, it's quite like it's quite nervous. It's nerve-wracking. It's not great. So that could also be part of the issue. If you're forcing people to go into a situation where they're not very comfortable, they're definitely not going to show.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
I think that's really huge. And you are one of the key people to help us be able to offer these services to our clients where we can follow up on their leads for them. We had already had some things in place because we had been using it internally for our own school, but expanding it out, and having a team that is dedicated with the same culture that we want for them to communicate out, like what you were talking about, connecting emotionally with people, really diving into the specifics of it. I'm curious though, you have a lot of appointment setters that work for you. You just mentioned that the whole call center was running. So how many do you have? And then how are you keeping that culture there? Let's say an agency owner is listening. How are you keeping that culture there with all those setters?
Yeah. The great thing about this is that I'm actually quite removed from it now. So
Mm,
I've hired some really key people that are amazing, and I obviously have calls with them every day and keep updated, but I don't ever speak to the setters anymore or anything like that. So the reason I'm saying that is just to kind of like preface my answer with like, I'm not 100% sure anymore. Like my team do it, and they work it perfectly.
yeah.
So I've got to think back to like a year, like 2 years ago when I was the
Yeah.
one doing it, right? Um, the main things are first. So first of all, to answer your first question, how many people do we have? It's constantly going up and down, but at the moment I believe it's about 50 to 70 appointment setters we have. They're not all full time, some are part time, but we have quite a big base there. What we do have is we broken the team down into different pod leaders, we call them. So we have like a call center manager, then we have a few different pod leaders. We have about 8 to 10 appointment setters under each pod, you could say. So there's like a mini culture amongst each of them pods, if that makes
Yeah.
sense, which works really well. And the other thing as well is like we keep like there's like the underlying kind of foundations of the appointment setting, right? So connecting with people, like that's always a fundamental of being on the phones with people. So it's not like certain people it's completely different and we're doing this completely different. Like there's like underlying things you could say that are just always there that we always it's just like it's like a second nature to people now. So you don't really have to keep reinforcing that. We obviously do a lot of quality assurance. We listen to a lot of calls. If we start to see certain people are like dipping on energy or they're connecting all these things are going wrong, then we have a whole like 2-week performance improvement plan. We give them one-on-one coaching and we get them back up. So it's like people are at a certain level, and if anyone starts to drop, we either bring them back up or they just get removed. Not in like a bad way. It's not like we just fire people out of nowhere. There's a whole process around it. But if we give
Yeah.
people the opportunity to improve and they're not, then we'll. So that alone, like just people knowing that we're listening to the calls and they know what the fundamentals are and the given feedback, that keeps everyone like at the same level, if that makes sense. Yeah, does that answer the question? I don't know if I missed anything there.
Yeah, no, that definitely does. I think a lot of people, like you and I had a really hard conversation a while ago, before we started working with you about whether or not we should continue doing that which we were doing for our clients, or if we should just keep this small group and we weren't going to offer it to anybody else. And you were really instrumental with the call center mastery to make something so complex more simple that it was a lot more scalable. Why do you feel like people maybe get overwhelmed with the thought of having so many different appointments there? How did you get through that? That's
Yeah,
a lot of people to manage.
it was. I'm trying to think. It was like trying to think back when I was first starting. So I started with like 3 sets to begin with, and I was managing all of them. And then one of my skill sets is I'm very process driven. So it's like everything that happens, there needs to be an SOP. There needs to be a reason. Like there needs to be everything needs to fit like a puzzle. I don't like to have things where I just rely on someone to do something every day and like they just do it. And then I'm always thinking of my business like like cogs in the machine. So it's like, okay, so if one of my team quit right now, I already know exactly what tasks need to be covered, and I already have a whole onboarding for that team member to go, like, so we can replace. It's super smooth like that. So in the beginning stage, it was never. I'm never at a point where I've got like 10 setters working for me, and I'm just like scrambling, trying. Oh, yeah, do this. Oh no, you. It's never like that. I have a whole system that everyone follows every day, day in, day out. It's very. It's kind of like, it's not McDonald's, but it's kind of like that way. It's like,
Yeah, that model.
how you know what I'm saying? So that's how I do it. And that's literally, like I said, you've been through it in call center masters. What we try to do is we try to show them systems that I built. Here it is, and you guys can go build it out. Doesn't mean building a call center is easy. It's still hard to do, but it makes it a lot easier, and it stops the overwhelm. Because
Yeah.
some people I speak to, they have like 3 setters, and they're like, I'm so overwhelmed. And it's like, yeah, because you're trying, like, you're literally, you're spinning plates. Like you're the glue that's trying to hold it all together when you shouldn't be. The systems should be the glue, and then you should just be stepping in when you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's change gears just a little bit. Let's talk about this the abundance mindset and the scarcity mindset and how it applies to this next question I have. You know, you have a lot of people, and it was kind of like we were back in the day on some of this in different areas where uh, you're thinking about, okay, can I do this? Can I? It's expensive. It's a lot of money, and I've never done it before. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I just know what the person who's selling it is trying to tell me about it, and I'm really anxious about the fact that I don't know whether I want to take that step and get in there. Um, Talk to us a little bit about that, about having, just being able to take that step in there, put your toe in the water, put your foot in the water, jump in the water, get the thing going. Because I think with some of the clients that we have, especially when we offer, to be able to make the calls from with our dojo assistants and stuff, they have issues with it. And even though some of the other people that they know are doing it, they still have issues. And it's you would think that they wouldn't, but they do.
Letting go, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, letting go. It's almost, it's like trying to take something away from somebody that they don't even have yet, and it's crazy.
So essentially, you're asking, just to make sure I understand the question, you're asking, what advice would I give to a local business owner that is thinking of handing over that follow-up
Yeah.
segment to someone
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
for them? Is that what you're asking?
yeah. Because there's an unseen barrier there, just like you were talking about by getting people in on the leads. It's just that same unseen barrier from the business owner going into an area that he's asking someone to come into his business and do the same thing. If
Yeah,
that
I get
makes
you. The
Yeah,
first thing I'd say is that as the business owner, you will always outperform whatever setter you have on the phone doing the dials for you, right? So if you jump into something like this, and you think that your setter is going to be as great as you, and you're going to listen to calls, and there's going to be like a clone of you, like, yeah, eventually that can happen if you train them up enough. But to begin with, that's not going to happen. But if you've done it right, the main advantage you're going to get is, first of all, you'll probably still get more booked appointments, even if, and probably more shows, even if your appointments there isn't as good as you on the phone, you'll probably still get better results. But the reason why is because unless you actually are phoning leads within 5 minutes and you're actually following up with them consistently for 7 days, right? Most of the time, people aren't doing that. And
right.
so a setter comes in who isn't as good on the phone, but their volume is like 10x, and therefore they're just getting way better results, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And then the second thing is that, oh, what was it? Oh, it's just off my mind. That's such a fault. That's so
No,
annoying.
that's a good one though. The first one
Yeah,
was really good. You're going to get better. You're going to get a whole lot better
Well,
because they're doing it. It's like martial arts or anything else. The more you do it, the better you get at it, as long as you have the
yeah,
right instruction and the right way to do it. So it's the
yeah.
same thing with that setter, because the
It's
owner doesn't have the opportunity all the time. He's got 10 other things, 50 other things that he's got to
thank
do,
you.
and you just can't do it.
The other thing, thank you for reminding me. The other thing is the time you save, right? So your results go up, but honestly, with a lot of our clients, the biggest thing we find is that they are able to get 15 hours a week, 20 hours a week back into their calendar, because they're not having to do all the follow up and do all that stuff for themselves anymore. And even if your results, let's say your appointment set wasn't that great and your results actually dropped a little bit, right? If you had 15 hours a week back, what do you think that can do for your business, right? So we have a lot of our clients, what they do is that 15 hours a week, they put it into how do they like, they start being able to focus on their actual business more. They can retain clients better. They can provide a better service to their customers. And so they end up hitting record months. And even though they're getting like less appointments and less shows, because their existing clients are staying for longer and their attention is going up massively because they can put more time into that. So it's not just the appointments and shows you're getting extra, which you probably will if you have an appointment sale. It's also the time saving you get back. And some people, it might not even be about making more money. Some people just want to be able to come home at 6 p.m. and spend 5 hours with their family, like having dinner, like putting their kids to bed, whatever it is, right? And a lot of people, not to sound like, sounds a bit kind of cliche, but you can't put a price on that, right? Like that, some people that's like really important to them. So even if the results do drop a little bit or whatever else, you've got to decide, okay, with my life the way it currently is going, am I happy spending 80 hours a week in my business doing all this stuff? If you really don't want to give it up, like give up that calling side and hand it over to someone else, well then you've got to deal with 80 hours a week. And most people probably don't want, like, you got to make decisions on things as well, right? But ultimately what I'm trying to say is your results should still improve and you should get all your time back if you do it right.
Yeah. That's
I mean, your overall experience, you've obviously dealt with a lot of different versions of businesses, local business, online agency owners, you're collaborating with different people. But what would you say that for, a business owner that's trying to follow up on any type of lead, what are some mistakes that you see business owners either they think wrong, or like actual technical mistakes that they're making that prevent them from capitalizing on all the leads that they've actually generated? If you,
Yeah.
yeah.
The first mindset shift I would say is that people are scared to upset people. So I can already guarantee that some people that are watching this podcast, they would be like, twice a day, 7 days a week. Oh no, I'd hate that if someone did that to me. And it's
Oh
like,
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
we hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's like, well, you will piss some people off. Don't get me wrong. Like there will be some, you'll get that text one day. Oh my God, I was actually thinking of signing up with you guys, but all these calls have really put me off. Like, you'll get them, right? But you got to let the data speak for itself. So what we find is, even like, let's say you piss off like, let's say 5% of the people you get in, if you can get your booking rate up from 30% to 40%, that's worth it. It's worth the like who cares? It's worth the sacrifice. The other thing people have a problem with is like their brand, right? People, like, you get a lot of these people that are like, oh, I'm worried about how my brand's perceived over the local community. I don't want to have someone else making the phone calls because I really care about my brand. Like, you haven't got a brand. Like, you're just a business in a local area. Like, it doesn't, like, get, not to sound rude, but like, get over yourself. Like, it's not a thing, right? Like, just get someone else doing the calling. It's way better.
Yeah.
In terms of technical stuff, if I don't know what kind of technical ability your audience has, but in terms of like CRMs, FIOs and things like that, they'll send like automatic follow-up like in the middle of the night, right? So for example, they might set up in their CRM, as soon as a new lead comes in, I want you to text them saying, hey, it's Jen here from blah, blah, blah. Super excited to speak with you soon. I'll try calling you ASAP or something, right? But what they've done is they've put it on to activate at any time of night or any time of day. And so that means that 3 a.m. when that lead comes in, because the person's up and they're just scrolling on Facebook, they get a text saying, hey, it's Jen. It's like obviously automated, and it just kind of kills that, like, just doesn't look great, So it's that from a technical side standpoint. So thinking about it from technical standpoint, that's like where a lot of people will fall short. They don't think about it from like an actual person receiving that message and how it comes across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's really critical, what you just mentioned there on both sides, but the mindset part was what's huge too.
So we've been talking about a lot about the negative aspects of it. Let's talk about the positive aspects of it. Let's talk about share with us. I know you have lots of these. A success story where one of your clients who may have been a little hesitant to sign up to get going and stuff, but something like, I got them in here, trained them how to do it, and their business just took off like crazy.
Yeah, I've, like you said, I've got quite a lot of them. I would say like there are so many positive things that come from, and I'm talking about, to make sure I'm answering the question, Tommy, you're talking more about like from the agency standpoint, right? Like an agency that's come to me
Yeah.
and built out the call center. Is that what you mean, or do you mean like
Yeah. Just like, for instance, just like for us, I know for us how it's transformed what we do
Yeah.
And it's just been tremendous in
Mhm.
helping us. And I know you have stories of people who come in and done that. Share some of those with your
Cool. Yeah, love
audience.
it. Yeah, awesome. I'll quickly talk about like some of the key benefits so people kind of really understand why I'm so like team call center, if that makes sense, right? And why my whole business has been built around that. So the first thing is that the market is always evolving with this kind of stuff, right? And so a lot of agency owners, a lot of agency owners are quite new to the space. But if you've been around since like 2018, 2019, 2020, like, you used to be able to just generate leads on Facebook, hand them over to your clients, and they would try and phone them sometimes. But it was people were pretty consistent with like staying on the service. They weren't constantly churning. It was like, okay. Then what's happened is as time's gone on, local businesses are starting to understand the power of call centers. And so what happens is that people get on these calls now. And if you're just talking about, hey, yeah, all I'm going to do is generate leads for you, blah, blah, blah. So many of your competitors now are going to be doing way more than that. They're going to be doing generating leads, and they're also going to be funding the leads, booking them in, like doing all that kind of stuff, right? And so first of all, it already puts you at a disadvantage if you don't have some kind of call center in place, because you're trying to compete against the guys that do have it, and their service is just way better, right? So first of all, it helps you with your sales and all that kind of stuff. The second thing is that obviously once you actually get the call center in place, once it's working and the client's happy, they're probably not going to leave you. It's hard because you're taking on so much more of their problem now. You're solving more of their problem. So it becomes a way stickier service. Retention goes up, everything like that. So in terms of like actual case study people that we've worked with, so I'm just literally just jump to my testimonial page because I think it's way easier. Yeah, so as a client called Pasha. I won't go too deep into like who they are. I don't know if
Right.
I don't know. It may be testimonials. Like they can't be that upset. But he's in the dental space. He was, and this is the best one. The best one is when people think they've got the call center dialed in. They don't understand the extent of the call center. So even like, for example, with you guys, right? When you first built your call center, a lot of people are like, look, I've already got a call center in place. I just need to like spice up a little bit. I just need a little bit of help with it, a little bit of whatever else, right? And then when they go through the program and they go through the entire thing and they're like, oh, there's like way more to it than I thought.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Is way more to it. And then once I actually get everything locked in, I had a call with literally just before this podcast, I had a call with a guy called Daniel, and he joined the call and he was like, look, man, I'll be honest with you, like I know what the problem is. I just need a little bit of help with it. My team aren't making enough dials. I was like, okay, and then we're going through the thing, going back and forward. And then just before the end of the call, I was like, look, let's just share your screen. Can we just have a look quick in your Go High Level account? I was like, yeah, cool. And we did it. And the problem that he thought was the problem was just absolutely not the problem. It was the fact that there was like we found I clicked on 4 or 5 different leads, and each of them leads hadn't been phoned for like 30 hours. Like they came in at like 7 a.m. for example, and they weren't phoned till the next day at like 1 p.m. And that happened like flat. So what he's thinking is, hold on a second, my pickup rate is so bad because we're not making enough dials. It's like, no, that's not the reason why. Your pickup rate is so bad is because you're not phoning the leads. First of all, you're not phoning them fast enough. And even then, you're not phoning them consistently enough afterwards. Those clients are probably doing a better job than phoning than your team are. And he was obviously like, I'm going to kill my team. This is crazy, blah, blah, blah. He was like kicking off, which is fair enough. But so anyways, I'm going back to what I was saying about the testimonial. So one of our clients, they were literally able to 5x the number of appointments they were able to get in their system just from speed to lead, running consistently after that. It's been like, there's always an uptick. Like with a lot of agencies, it's really hard to say exactly like, okay, what percentage increase? Because a lot of agencies don't even have the tracking, to be honest with you, right? They just don't. If I said to a lot of agency owners that are watching this now, I'm like, hey, look, what's your pickup rate for July? Or so we're on the 2nd of August now, right? Like, what's your pickup rate for July? They would be like, oh, well, I think it's about, and they just don't have the data. And so many agency owners, they're kind of like arrogant in that sense that they think they know it. They're like, oh, I know my agent. And it's like, you don't know, you don't even have the data. Show me like, sorry, I'm going to rant a little bit now, but it's like, you're recording this. Show me like your dashboard. Show me like, you should have these numbers there and we should have to see them. And most of them just like, it's just like the way they feel that, oh, I think I've seen this. Like, I feel like that. It's like, if you're going off your feelings, it's not going to work, right? And even things like retention. We had one client that went through the program and literally they used to return clients every 3 months. They went for the program, and that first 3 months after that when I had the interview with him, he hadn't lost a single client in that 3 months, like after implementing the course, going through it.
Awesome.
So yeah, there's so many, and this is the beautiful thing. Like when I run team follow up, for anyone that's not aware, that's a white label agency that I work with agencies on. That's a lot harder because every agency has their own little way of doing things. And so scaling up team follow up, also we've got some 8-figure agencies we work with, some big clients, but bringing on like newer agencies into that was really difficult because everyone wanted a slightly different way of doing things, blah, blah. With call center mastery, it's been so great. And I've had such a great response from it because first of all, I'm giving people the tools to be able to make their own changes in their own agency. That they can take that 95% of what I say and then add their own sprinkle of their own things, which makes it really nice. And also all the skills they learn, it's not just about the call center. It's like all the reporting, all the automation, it's a whole skill set on its own, learning all that. And so when you combine all that together as a whole, like the last one now, I had a client. He was only a small client. He's like I think he was on 8K. He told me a couple of weeks back. After starting call center mastery, they've already got up to 18K. So it's like a 2.5x increase in revenue. And that's just because the skills that he learned not only helped him with the call center, but it helps him with a bunch of other stuff that helped him retain clients and all that kind of stuff. So I'm very, very, if you can't tell, I'm very convicted in my product. Like it works.
Well, I mean, just to shout it out, we came through actually 2 other types of things that were trying to help us with this previous to getting to you. So for anyone who's ever watching and they're thinking to themselves, oh, I'm going to get burned again. I don't know if I should try this. I mean, we got burned bad 2 times in a row. And then it was to the point of like, okay, there's got to be a better way. Like we've got to be able to figure it out. And then, we had a conversation, me, Dad, Erica, our chief of operations, we had a conversation with you. But like you were saying, you have the dashboards, you have the statistics tracking. I was able to take my team and just say, hey, go talk to Arin and his team and let's get everything and combine it in. And it's resulted in such a great experience for our clients. They're much happier than what they were before because they are getting better results because my team can deliver better results. And you're exactly right. Like the clients are a lot happier. They're getting better results and they're staying longer because of what we're doing. So thank you for your passion on this because it's really helping a ton of business owners for sure.
Yeah, it's when I first started this, I didn't know if the call center was going to be like, because I don't want to consider myself an agency guru. I really want to stay away from that. I don't want to be like another, hey, sign up for my I really don't want to be that guy. But when I first started it, it was like, I'm like, is just the call center stuff enough? Like, because every other agency calls talks about how to get clients, how to close them, like how to get leads. Like that's really what they focus on. Where mine's it's a very niche thing. It's like, okay, you've already got to have an agency set up. You already have some kind of like clients coming in. I'm just going to show you how to get more out of your clients, like, and give a better service. Like, was that enough? And so when I built out like a beta program, I had like I didn't even build out the program to begin with. I just had a big list I've got whiteboard to my right over here. I had a big list of like all the things I was planning to teach in the program. I just sent it to a bunch of agency owners I knew. I was like, look, I will this is the thing I'm going to be building. I'm just trying to get a proof of concept at the moment. If I charge you, I can't remember what the price was now, but it's like a one-time fee, you get lifetime access. Would you be down for paying it? And like, I had like 10 guys were like, yeah, I'll pay it now. And I was like, oh, okay, this is people need this. And that's really
ask for more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I only charge $1. No, I'm joking. So it was like, so I saw that people needed it, and then from that point on, it's like I see how much it's helping people, and it's just like a spiral. It's like a snowball effect now. It's like it just keeps reinforcing. So I'm so glad that you guys saw the value and you guys have enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, Arin, this has been super, super fun today. I think you've really given a ton of information. 2 things for you. One, like what's ahead for you? What are you trying to do in your future? What's ahead? And then if somebody wants to reach out to you, maybe they are an agency owner and they want to get in touch with you, how do they find you?
Yeah, cool. So my focus at the moment, team follow-up I'm still running. Like I said, I don't really do much of that anymore, but I still run team follow-up. And then call center mastery is that's what I'm going all in on. It's going great, product's great, just marketing. And so call center mastery for the foreseeable future is what I'm really pushing into. People that want to get in touch, so I don't know if you can link my Instagram wherever you post stuff. Yeah. Check out. I have my Instagram. I've got a YouTube channel. I don't post too much on YouTube. I'm more on Instagram. You can check all that out. And then I'll also put a link to my landing page. You can have a look. I've got a video on there explaining some stuff, and you can, if you want to book a call with us, we can help you out.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, Arin, thanks very much for being with us here on the 7-Figure Secrets podcast. We really enjoyed having you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been awesome. Appreciate it. Cheers, guys.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.